Hello, and welcome to Quality Bicycle People, a podcast that plans to bring you some of the interesting people and characters in the cycling industry, whether they're athletes, shop owners, industry professionals, plain old riders, you name it. If they have an interesting story to tell, we're interested to have them on our show. My name is Mike Riemer. I'm one of your hosts, and with me is...
My name is Maria Camargo, and I am Mike's co-host.
I'm stoked that we're finally getting these rolling, Maria.
Oh, yeah.
We're surrounded by a world of wonderful people, and some of them are known and some of them aren't known. And I think we have an opportunity in front of us to let more people know about some of these characters, share their stories, hopefully provide some inspiration and motivation, and generally share some of the good things that go on in this cycling world.
Yeah, and we are hoping that with this podcast, it'll make you want to ride your bike or make you want to go meet a friend in your new local bike shop. And we are just interested in talking about everything from sustainability to advocacy to fun rides to products, folks working in shops, what they're seeing, what they want riders to know, all of that is hopefully down the pipeline for us. And we're really excited to be here. I'm coming to this podcast from Portland, Oregon, and Miker is in Minneapolis.
Yeah, Richfield officially. Richfield, Minneapolis. It's a suburb right to the very bottom of South Minneapolis.
Yeah, so we're hoping to have the geographic diversity of our perspectives, and yeah, let's get started.
So every episode, we're going to start out with a section we'll call Stoked. And Maria, what is something from the bicycle world that has you stoked right now?
Well, a lot. I feel I find myself feeling the most stoked on bikes when it's nice outside. And, I can get out there when it's raining a little bit. I do live in Portland after all, but I have the most drive to be invested in all things bikes this time of year, spring, summertime. I've been following pretty closely Lael Wilcox's journey to set the overall record for fastest bike ride around the world, which just feels so insane to me to think about. Lael got started a couple of days ago and unfortunately had to make the call to stop because of the heat. But it is anything Lael does, I want to watch. She's got such a good energy and a good attitude. And it's really special to see how somebody can be so happy on their bike doing stuff that most of us would never find fun. But just there's pure joy there. And I think I would really love to see, I wish there was a way to see the actual impact that her joy for bikes and the way it's sort of proliferated across social media, how much that's gotten folks on bikes. It gets me excited for sure. I definitely don't want to do that, but very awesome to watch. Yeah, just really for the love of it, and to choose to make the call to stop because it wasn't in the cards. I think that takes a lot of bravery and sets a really awesome example for folks as well, of kind of knowing your limits and reminding yourself what you're doing and why you're doing it. So it's been a treat kind of following along. It's funny, obviously sleep deprivation is a big part of what she's doing. And, I feel like I've done some hard things, nothing like that. And I feel so loopy. So it also is just like a sweet treat to watch her in her, raw loopy self, just sharing that joy. So that's something that's got me stoked. What about you, Miker?
Well, I'm going to choose another woman from the cycling world And this past weekend, Anna Newkirk won the UCI downhill race, women's downhill race in Lenzerheide. And that's rad on its own. But what makes it radder is it's the first U.S. woman to win it in 23 years to win a World Cup downhill race. We had a 23-year gap without a U.S. woman winning a World Cup downhill. And I was around taking pictures of the women that last won before her, Marla Streb and Missy Giovi and so forth. And I had no idea the gap had gone so long. So props to Anna Newkirk of Frameworks on ending that dry spell. Yeah, I'm stoked, and stoked to see, honestly, just women's DH racing has gotten so much more competitive. It's becoming really, really fun to watch, and you honestly don't know who might win on a weekend anymore. The field has just gotten so much tighter. So that's what I'm stoked on.
Yeah,
I'm
Mike,
also
your side hustle at QBP is keeping the folks informed about what's going on in the downhill world.
we
So,
do have a fantasy downhill league that's
yep.
only open to QBPers, and it's also known as Dumpster Fire, spelled with a capital DH.
Heck yeah.
Dumpster Fire.
Yeah.
Um,
So thanks for keeping me informed.
I'm also stoked on who our guest is today. And so we're fortunate to be joined by Bobby Wintle. I've known Bobby a long time now. He is a co-owner of District Cycles, District Bicycles, and he's a co-founder of the Mid-South, which is without a doubt one of the most important gravel races in the world. I'll just say that. He's also a musician and a character and an all around good guy. So, Bobby, thanks for joining us today.
Mike or Maria, it's awesome to be on, and excited about the conversations that you guys are bringing to the table through this podcast. I think it's, like you said, there are so many people that may or may not be known that make this whole thing go around. You know, especially in the United States, it's a small world, it's a small tight little family. So I'm very honored to be on.
Well, we like to keep this stuff, we get into some of the businessy sort of stuff, but we also would like to actually kind of get to know our guest a bit more. So I'm gonna go way back, and I'm gonna say, what's your first memory of a bicycle? What's your first bicycle riding memory?
My first memory is, I was maybe 5, I think, or so, and we had this. Not, it wasn't a cruiser, but it was like a hybrid style city bike, but from the 70s or something, in our backyard, that was rusted and single speed and too big. And I remember for the first time figuring out how to do it without anybody else around. And we had a gravel driveway, and story is as old as time. Like, I couldn't even sit on the saddle, but I figured out how to balance this thing that was way too big for me. And of course I made it 6-7 feet, something like that. And then I fell and blew my knee wide open. There's blood everywhere. So that's actually my first ever actual bike memory.
It's kind of fitting that it happened on a gravel road.
Yeah, definitely. But that bike we all shared, our whole family kind of just shared that bike. It was the only real functional one around my house at that time, until I got a BMX bike a little bit later when I was 7 or 8 years old. But yeah, that's when I vividly remembered what it felt like, holding onto these handlebars and looking down and just reveling in the fact that I was balancing and moving forward. It was really cool until it wasn't.
I have a different version of that, and it's the first time I tried to ride a horse, or in this case, maybe a big pony by myself, when we were visiting some relatives and everyone was inside, and I just thought, I can get on that thing. And it also ended with a fall off the fence and some scrapes on the knee. So,
oh man, it could have been way worse. I think that's terrifying.
So from humble beginnings on a bike that didn't fit you and teaching yourself how to ride, you found your way into the bike world as a bike shop owner.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's quite a journey to take.
We both knew when we were pretty young, I think, Crystal and I both, my wife, that we wanted to be entrepreneurs, even though we didn't really know what that meant and what that would completely holistically look like. I think most business owners are stepping into this pretty blind. And if you weren't, you may or may not decide to move forward if you knew all the ins and outs, you know? But yeah, it stemmed for me from a love of community building for sure. It was this job I had at a really small restaurant, coffee shop that took on a bigger project and a bigger space in town. And then went from just offering like lunch options to full dinner service. They had a full bar. And I got to be like 3 or 4 different positions at that location. And then I wrote my own business plan based off of that experience when I was 18 in college. And this intro to business class, Crystal and I met after that. And she was like, I've always wanted to own my own business. I just never knew what it was. Super long story short, but basically her dad, Billy, my father-in-law, at the time, you know, Chris and I were dating for about a year and a half or something. I'd been in my band, we were touring. We all had like 3 or 4 jobs and we're trying to go to school full time. But she was begging me to go on a ride with them. And I thought that riding 20, 30, 40 miles at a time sounded like the most outlandish, most ridiculous thing I could possibly imagine. They finally got me to do it on this Schwinn that was once again like old early 80s Schwinn varsity, 61 centimeter. I think I had the saddle slammed, and Crystal's dad was promising me like, we're just going to do 20 miles. It's no big deal. And I'm thinking like, this is going to be impossible. I'm going to embarrass myself. On that ride, we ended up going 38 miles, I think, on all these country paved back roads out by where they live. And it blew my mind. I had no idea that that's what it would feel like and be like. And I hit that kind of flow state, you know, that I'd only had happened when I was running some longer distances back in the day. And yeah, we kept writing this business plan for a coffee shop. Crystal and I got engaged. And then I started really working on bikes a lot when we were in Emporia. So I'm from a small town in southeast Kansas in Parsons. If you're looking at like the state of Kansas, it's like this little dot in the southeast corner by Missouri and Arkansas. But then when I was 21, I moved up to Emporia and started working on my own bikes, Frankensteining things from other builds. I had this old Cannondale road bike that I fell in love with and rebuilt it almost completely on my own. And yeah, started to get good at that. And we thought, hey, what if we did a bike shop instead? And what if we started looking around at open markets? I think I was 23 at the time, and I cold called Trek. Had not even worked at a bike shop yet. Had been begging to get a job at High Gear Cyclery in Emporia at the local shop. They were a Trek dealer. They were a Salsa dealer too. That was my first interaction ever with Salsa, was at that shop. Mm-hmm. Seeing bikes like the Dos Niner and, the Chili Con Crosso and like all of those rad bikes from way back. And I called Trek, and we, of course, get answer from the local rep, from Wade McGuire. Wade's still our rep today, way longer than that now. I mean, it's almost been 20 years since that conversation. And we just said, hey, we're looking to open a bike shop. You don't know who we are, but we're dedicated to this idea of opening with this brand. And where's an open market? And the first thing out of his mouth was Stillwater, Oklahoma. And we knew 0 people here. And so for the next 2.5 years, we wrote our business plan based on this town that we didn't know anything about and that knew no people. And we visited maybe 3 times, got connected with Corey Williams, who's a mover and shaker in town. He's a development guy, owns a restaurant in town now. And he was our first connect, and we were his first ever connect for his first commercial building ever. And neither one of us had any idea what we were doing. And we moved here in September of 2011. So this September will be 15 years that we've been here, and October it'll be 15 years that we've had District open, which is crazy.
I would say that being told one distance is your ride and then doubling it doesn't always end that successfully. So I'm so happy to hear that was that's what came out of that.
Yeah, all of this is Crystal's dad, Billy's fault, I think. Pretty much everything that exists, I can trace back to that ride.
Yeah, we've all been in that, like, all right, every mile after the amount of time you told me we were going to be out here, I'm getting grumpier and grumpier.
I was
So
just
happy to
getting
hear it was good.
more pumped and more. I was
Yeah,
like, how is this possible? It blew my mind.
yeah.
It blew my mind. And yeah, so then from there, like, I do truly think the seed was planted of like, all right, it was never about how fast I could go. I was never really a racer. I mean, some of the cross country mountain bike stuff we got into in college, I tried to, get on a podium or whatever, which never happened. But it was always about, can I go that far? And I think
Mhm.
those seeds got planted literally from that ride. And then, of course, from the fact that we were moving and living in Emporia at the exact same time that DK200, now Unbound Gravel, the biggest gravel race in the world, was blossoming and starting to grow. So then by 2010, there's 500, 700, I don't remember, maybe 1,000 riders from all over the country in the middle of downtown in our alma mater, and I'm like, oh my, like, how is this possible? I never thought I would see the city get behind it this way, to see people's stoke level to be as high as it was, to go out and ride 200 miles with absolutely no support outside of like, 2 or 3 aid stations. And that again was just like, okay, I have to do that event. I have to know if I can finish double century when I had never even done a century even on the pavement at that time. It completely stoked me to the moon. And yeah, so the idea for Mid South was planted before we even had the bike shop, because we were like, there's nothing happening in the spring to keep all of these people, with a carrot to chase throughout the wintertime. And if the gravel roads in Stillwater are cool when we moved there, when we hadn't even opened this bike shop or like built one bike or built one, workstation with tools on the wall, we had this idea, and we thought, well, if the roads are cool, then we'll put it together and see if we can make 100-mile route, so people have something. If they're ready for 100 in March, they'll be ready for 200 in June in Emporia. And little did we know,
So,
thousands of miles of roads.
so
Mike,
when you start the shop in Stillwater, what cycling scene existed in Stillwater?
So Cooper's Bicycles has been here since 1929. They're the other
Okay.
bike shop in town. So Mary's dad, Charlie Cooper, started the shop, I think, in his like early teens. I'm
Okay.
not actually even sure how old he was, if he was 16 or 17 years old. Started doing repairs out of their like horse stable shop, and turned into a motorcycle as well. So if you know of Kenny Travis Pastrana and Mike Cooper, these motocross nitro circuit kind of led to we're all transitioning from like BMX to motocross. So that whole scene preceded us until there was no big BMX or super motocross scene in town. Nothing about motocross. Just that family kind of evolved into there was a road ride at 6 o'clock that left Cooper's. That was a handful of people that the group is called the Red Dirt Peddlers, RDP. And I showed up on my gravel bike. I had this Gary Fisher Presidio with like 29 by 1.75 tires, and everyone's on this super sleek, like super high end, lightweight carbon carbon road bike. And they're all like, "What are you gonna do? Ride in the ditch on this bike?" And seriously, were like giving me, like razzing me about it, and I'm like, "I will if you want me to." And so yeah, I would just come on the road rides, and I started kind of like asking around, like, "Is anybody ride on the gravel?" And they're like, "No, we have 25 or 28 miles of single track at Lake McMurtry." So we had this mountain bike scene that was happening, and a night ride that was on Thursdays, I think. And so I would hit that. I mean, for 6 months, we had a 1-year-old kid. We had started this business that we had no idea what we were doing. And I was hoping to get out and try and find gravel roads. But for the first 6 months, didn't have any time to go find gravel. And then I hadn't ridden any of our single track in the daylight until like that next spring. And then I was like, oh, this is what it looks like out here. It's so beautiful. But yeah,
Riker was
so
telling me a story about that I'd like to get into. It sounds like we're headed in that direction, about car, kid, teen.
yes. Oh my gosh. So, I mean, we really still truly don't actually know why our daughter would not sleep through the night, but Emery for like 2.5 years just would not sleep. And that between 1 and 2 was some of the worst times where she'd wake up and she's inconsolable, right? Like no dirty diaper. She's not hungry. She's just terribly, terribly upset. And the only thing that I could ever do to get her to stop is to scoop her up, put her in her car seat, get her in the car, and go for a drive. So, same deal. This is happening. And I started driving west of town on 19th on this road that I had never driven on before. And I'd definitely not driven it until the edge of town where the hills started. And I'm like, okay, like this feels different. This looks rad. Um, and then I get to an intersection. It's like, okay, I can either go right and stay on pavement and go back to the highway, or I'm like kind of seeing a little bit of red dirt to my left. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go left and check it out. I'm in a Volkswagen Golf, like this tiny little 4-door black Golf that has no clearance whatsoever. We take this left-hand turn, and the most beautiful just ribbon of really rowdy, really rutted dirt roads are all I could see for like 2 miles. And I thought, okay, I'm going to come out here the next day and check this out. And next day, come out, hit it. I go out about 7 miles or so, 8 miles to this intersection that's Hackelman, 44th and Hackelman. And again, like I get there, and then the vistas are all the way down to the Cimarron River. And the Cimarron River has become quite the player in Mid-South, as far as we always have to find there's only a couple different spots where we can actually cross it that are on gravel roads in any direction. So it truly determines how and where the route goes. And I had no idea that it was even there. And I could see this valley all the way down to the river. And I'm like, okay, it's on. Like, we have to figure this out. And that was it. That was kind of like where we knew for sure that the roads would be cool enough for us to put something together. But still at that point, and that was early 2012, we still had really no idea just how much there was and how much private land we'd end up having access to, and how the community would be so incredibly supportive of what we were trying to do. And so, yeah, we finally put together a 100-mile route and open reg. And the crew at DK helped us spread the word on Facebook at the time, because we didn't even have an Instagram, which is crazy to think about. And we had 109 people come from 9 states and Canada the first year. A huge success.
Did your daughter fall asleep?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, she did. Yeah,
So she wasn't hungry. She didn't need a new diaper. She just needed some dirt.
She just needs some dirt. She just needs some time on a bumpy road, you know. Oh man, so, the blood curdling screams I'll never forget ever. And now she's almost 16 and is driving me around now.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this will work, but I was going to say close your eyes, but you don't have to close your eyes. Is think back to what it was like sitting at the T and making the decision to turn left. And think about what that decision, frankly, has done for your life.
You know, just the fact that the more I think about the leap that we took, or like the decision that we took to come here at all, based on having a 1-year-old, and it's not like we were moving closer to family, like we were moving further away, to do something at 26 years old that we frankly had no idea how to put it all together, or like how much work it was going to be. And so, yeah, that I think we would have found it somehow, one way or another. But the fact that that's the way that I did find it in the middle of the night, it was like 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning, is kind of just fitting for all the decisions that we've made in our life. That it's like we blindly, literally in the dark, just kind of trusting ourselves on the fact that we know that we can work as hard as we possibly need to make it happen, whether it was the bike shop or whether it was going to be the coffee shop. Or, yeah, we almost moved to Manhattan, Kansas, and did this bike shop. You know, we almost scrapped all of this, and I almost went and just got a job in Salida at a bike shop, and Crystal was going to get a job at a coffee shop, and we almost didn't do this bike shop at all. So the fact that I ended up in that moment with already this idea that I was hoping that the roads were cool, not out there looking for the roads, but just trying to get my daughter to go back to sleep. Yeah, Mike, that's wild. And if I would have turned right, you're right. Like
Right.
would I
Yes,
or would it?
exactly.
I don't know.
So
That's because I
Yeah.
had been riding around trying to find them, and just like I said, nobody here was riding them. There wasn't a scene. There was no Warbird. There was no salsa gravel bike. There was no gravel gloves or gravel this or gravel bibs or whatever, which is everywhere now. And thinking back that like yeah, dude, it just felt intuitive. It felt like the right direction. And I felt that way about every decision that we made within district, actually, in Mid South, and every change. Because our event name originally was Land Run 100, and that was based on all these signs that I had seen in town. That was like, oh, this is where Oklahoma began, and this is blah blah blah. Like the Land Run of 1889 happened just over here, and that's how Guthrie was made in one night, and our original capital, and then Oklahoma City, and yeah. So what I didn't realize is that name was, to a lot of indigenous folks, is just incredibly disrespectful. And I had one really beautiful conversation with my good friend Yadika Fields about how the land run, perceived to a lot of natives, is the final nail in the coffin for like every single treaty that was broken, from Trail of Tears to land allotment to blah 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 blah. So you name it. So yeah, in literally a 15-minute conversation on the phone, I was like, okay, cool. In 2019, let's take this, what we now have as an internationally known brand, because we had started bringing in almost 10 countries at that point, and almost every state 7 years ago, and just said, fine, let's start over. And we've been using this hashtag Mid-South Gravel for a long time, because I was just trying to figure out what Oklahoma is. Where are we? Are we in the South? Like, we're not. Are we in the Midwest? Like, no, we're not Illinois. We're not Minnesota. We're not Kansas. We're our own thing. And so the Mid-South Gravel thing I kind of made up out of nowhere. But yeah, I feel like every decision that we've made, every kind of like T in the road, per se, I think we've been confident in our reasoning behind it. We've been really confident in the fact that we have good intention, and that we are, at the end of the day, all we're trying to do is build community and be hospitable to every customer or participant or whatever you want to call this community that's built around what we've put together. And yeah, I'm really thankful. I'm thankful for the T's in the road. I think that's where a lot of stuff, a lot of good things can happen.
you both have also been willing to take some chances.
Yeah.
There's a pretty good book. It's Matthew McConaughey, but he has a book called Green Lights, and it's basically a bit of his look through his life, but he essentially, when there's a opportunity, he basically says you take the opportunity, you just go with the green light, and it's worth a read.
Okay.
I feel like you and Crystal have made some of those same sort of decisions where an opportunity has come and you've said, yeah, let's try it.
Bobby, it sounds like you need to write a book called Left Turn.
Yeah.
Right. I'll actually say, I'll put in my pitch right now that it should be a t-shirt at Mid-South 2027 is I turned left, as a quote from Bobby Wintle.
Yeah.
And the graphic will find its way out pretty easily because it's a left turn.
And we haven't come back to that section of road for a really long time on any of the courses because of a few logistical reasons. But I've talked with the city, and this year I've gained access to 2 more sections of private land, actually, that would very, very organically lead us down that same road, which was awesome. It's on the very first 2 courses. Yeah, so it's Cottonwood and 19th, and it is so sick. It's so rowdy. That road, they have not fixed it even a little bit. Not at all. The last 15 years, it's so bad. So yeah, hopefully it'll be on. So okay, I'll think about that. That's a good idea for a team.
Bobby, so it sounds like, such an incredible origin story. And honestly, I've never been to Mid-South before, so it feels really, I'm feeling really stoked about the opportunity of maybe getting to go, because this sounds really incredible. I'm wondering, at what point did you realize that you had something special on your hands?
Oh man. Well, I used to have this really memorized really, really well, but let's see if I can kind of conjure it back up. We didn't put a cap on registration until the third year. We were like, let's just do it and see what happens. Because year one, we had, like I said, 109 or so. And then year two, we had 275 with no cap. Just left the reg open for like whatever, 6 months. And then the third year, we're like, let's do 500. And then we sold that out in 2.5 weeks. And then the next year, that was 2016, we did 750. We sold it out in 2.5 hours. And then the subsequent years, we just kept selling out like in minutes. So I think that third year was like right when we knew like Salsa had been ahead of the game on having the first ever purpose built like gravel bike in the industry, the Warbird. And we were standing actually in the warehouse at QBP with Sean Malin and Joe Miser, and Micah was there and Jason Boucher was there. And we're revealing the production models in 2013 for the very, or was it 13 or 14? I can't remember exactly. I think it was 13.
13.
It was 13. And so we had just had our first event ever. And it was Sean and Joe and everyone standing up there talking about this bike that they developed. And they mentioned our event. And like, I never will ever forget what that felt like having our event alongside. And Jim Cummins was there. And I think Tim Moan was there. And Tim is one of the, original top 5 finishers of the very first ever DK 200 for the first 3 or 4 or 5 years in a row. And, Jim's the co-founder of the biggest gravel race on the planet back in the day. And having our name put into the mix of, this bike's built for these events, and hearing it said out loud in front of dealers from literally across the country, probably some international as well, that hit me kind of like a ton of bricks, because we were only a couple years into our business and the very like precipice of the event that we were putting together. So then fast forward, 2 years from there, and we're selling out 500 spots in a couple weeks. That was beyond my comprehension. Every time it's like we've hit this new kind of whatever, like threshold of either a number of participants or just the feeling, like the vibe that everyone brings to Mid-South. Again, I'm blown away by what we've been given to help share with everyone that's willing to come. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Like, why people ask me why? Like, why? What is it? What is it that you guys are doing that makes Mid-South what it is and makes it so cool and makes people want to come? Because we're not the biggest. We're not giving away money to the podiums. We're not a part of a series. We're, I guess, maybe one of the last of our size, because we're about 4,000 participants now. From 12.
4,000.
Yeah, we're at 4,000, and we've got every state except Hawaii this past year, and we had 12 countries, including Pakistan, for the first time.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bonkers, And so my answer to everyone, and I think this kind of answers maybe your question of like when we knew it. And I knew this a long time ago. I saw this a long time ago, like what we do. And I think this stems from Crystal and I, from our leadership for sure. We provide an opportunity for people to be unhinged, to be truly and wholly themselves. Like, I get this reputation of like crazy and I'm off, like I'm unhinged, and I'm like, celebrating everyone at the finish line. I'm doing all this stuff. And truly, it's just coming out of a genuine place of being so excited that people want to come here and experience this thing that we made for them. And I think because Crystal and I are both in this state of like pure joy and celebration and hospitality, that it allows everyone to kind of like not be super worried about X, Y, and Z. Like, they don't have to be a racer. They don't have to beat this cutoff time. Our biggest party of the entire weekend now is DFL, is our dead last. And dude, we had 500, 600 people. I don't know. We recorded a live music video, actually live with the band Bell and the Vertigo Waves that wrote the song DFL because they got inspired by playing the main stage that we put together. I mean, it's like if we were super worried about one piece of the puzzle at the race or even at the bike shop, it would potentially turn or one certain type of person away from wanting to be here and wanting to be themselves. And I think because we don't do that, we don't focus on just one thing. We kind of focus on the whole, all of it, racing, mid-pack, live music, art, food, movement. Like we just are celebrating everything we possibly know how. And because we are doing that I truly believe it allows everyone else to come and just be authentic. So I
On
don't
the
know.
unhinged piece, I am an ultra runner. And so I selfishly, we're just going to move away from the cycling piece for a second. I'm curious about how you all decided to add a 50K race and
Yeah,
what level of people do both, because that's unhinged to me.
it's unbelievable. We added that in 2016, so that would have been our fourth edition of the event, and our local running community that was kind of head up at the time by our friend Arthur Elias, who is now in Seattle, and our friend Trey Nixon. They just came to us and said, "Hey, there's this whole running community in town that's completely in love with what you're doing, and we've all been volunteering at aid stations or whatever, and we want you to put something together." And all of them are trail runners, and they made up the 50K 31-mile course and presented it to us, and we just immediately said, well, yeah, like if we're going to do anything,
Right.
let's do a 50K. Like, and I asked them, like, is this long enough? Is it too, like, it's not quite long enough, for the ultra runner world. And it's definitely, obviously it's more than a marathon. So it's like, we're not going to get just the amateur of amateurs, or so you would think. And absolutely, we are getting people that have never done a marathon before, never even probably done a half marathon, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I can do that."
That's awesome.
And it's also because we don't have a cutoff, And
Yep.
again, like we'll wait, and we have. And
Mm.
our president of the Chamber of Commerce at the time, Justin Mingus, back in 19, walked the whole thing, and it was like 11 hours or something. And I'll never forget his finish. It was amazing. But yeah, we added the 50K, and then literally a month after the event, my buddy Jack Christian, who at the time was the only Oklahoman that had done Leadville 100 on foot in less than 25 hours or whatever, had the 25-hour belt buckle. And he's like, Bobby, everybody wants to do both. You have to move the 50K off the day of the race because it was all on Saturday. So then 2017, we only moved the people that wanted to do the double. So we called it the double because we were like, well, they're doing both. I guess we just call this double. And the double 50Kers ran alone on Friday, and then the regular 50Kers ran on Saturday. And then we were like, why are we doing it that way? So then 2018 rolls around, and we had all runners Friday, all bike Saturday. And that existed until this year. And then this year we actually decided to put the pros on Friday in the afternoon for the first time and separate them completely from the amateur bike race on Saturday. And then we did this weird thing where we did the pro double, which we're never doing again, and I'll tell you why. But we were like, what if some people are doing the double but want to race in the afternoon with the pros? So we took the 50K start time, pushed up to 7 a.m. And all the 50Kers and half marathoners, we have a half marathon now as well. And they did the 50K, and you had to finish before your bike race start time at 1 or 1:15 or 1:30 if you were men, women, or non-binary. And yeah, I don't remember how many finishers we had, but it was quite a few pro doublers. The reason we're not doing it that way anymore is because there's no stipulation on pro. Like, you can be a pro if you just decide to sign up. And it kept the last pro finisher came in very late on Friday, and it really threw our team for a loop because we were at the finish line the whole time. So we were at the finish line from 6. I think I actually got downtown at 5:30 in the morning on Friday, and then we didn't leave we literally didn't leave the finish line until almost midnight. And then we had to wake up and do that whole thing all over again for everyone on Saturday. So if you're doing the double, just consider yourself a pro. like you're a pro already. So we're just going to leave it the same. And we're adding a 5K this year. And then we're going to add a 30-mile distance to the bike ride, the 50K route, 31 mile. So then, yeah, Friday will be like this. It'll be 5K, half marathon, 50K, and doublers. And then we're going to push the pro men, women, non-binary starts to 11 a.m. But we don't have to worry about anyone getting back in time. It's like if you're pro cyclist, like that's what you're doing. And then the doublers will all run the 50K Friday and then get up Saturday and line up with the mass start. And I think that works best for our structure and our setup. And I'm excited about that.
Nice. So you guys have already been doing some heavy thinking on the event for next year.
Yeah, we've actually, for the first time ever, having meetings with the city, the whole entire city crew. That is like 22 people in the room at one time. It's, police, fire, safety, electrical, road closure, leads, waste management. We're already having once a month meetings with everyone through the city. I guess we're technically the biggest event in Stillwater, Oklahoma, outside of things that happen through Oklahoma State University through campus.
Sure.
Just bonkers.
Wow.
Yeah.
So part of, I would argue part of Mid-South's success has been how welcoming you are. And you talk about letting people be as unhinged as they want to be. But I'll say, pun not intended, but you actually embrace everybody with open arms. For those that don't know, Bobby is well known for giving a hug to all the finishers that will take a hug.
Yeah.
Right, because some people don't like to be touched.
Totally. I respect that.
Yeah, full respect. But the reality is, like, from my vantage point, Mid-South does feel quite unique in that way, as to embracing everyone.
It's been a really organic. I hate to use that word because I don't want to overuse it or anything, but it's been really organic because neither Crystal or I came from the racing world. And I've said that in many other interviews, but I really mean it. Like, we don't know what it's like to be fast. She does from like high school and college track. She was an incredible athlete, but like not me. I was this punk rock kid that I just cared about. Like, I've always cared about just curating the vibe, like always, no matter if it's, we're making, macaroni and cheese and playing video games as college kids after band practice when I was 18, 19 years old, or all the way to like how people felt when they walked in the door at District for the very first time, and how they feel while they're there in the shop, and how they leave and what they feel like when they leave the door. I didn't have this definition for the longest time. I had no idea how to define what it was that we were trying to create through the bike shop and also through the event weekend. And it hit me like a ton of bricks when I found out about this book, Unreasonable Hospitality, from Will Guidara. And Will ended up being the owner of 11 Madison Park in New York City when the year that they won best restaurant in the world. And so his whole entire ethos is unreasonable hospitality, that we are going to go above and beyond, and we are going to try and meet the needs of our customer before they had any idea that they even needed that thing that they were receiving, from top to bottom, from the moment they got to the restaurant, before they got there, while they're there. This one story that really stuck with me in the book, the waiter sat down the couple that came in to eat, and they were just making small talk. And then he overheard them realize that they left their laundry in the washer or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. It was something like that. They left a task at home unfinished, and they were like super stressed about it. And I cannot believe for 1 minute that these people were okay with and comfortable with this person they never met to allow this to happen. But the guy was just like, hey, I know this is crazy, but like, we've got your car at valet, and if you want, then I can pop out and run to the house and take care of that for you. And they were like, sure, that'd be amazing. And so they totally let this stranger go do that. And then it came back and like took care of the rest of their meal. Blew my mind. I'm like, okay, these people are like have no boundaries whatsoever to what they call hospitality, and to meet the needs at every step of the way. We're not talking about just like making sure your silverware is clean and making sure that the food is presented in a certain way. And that's exactly how we feel about the Mid-South, is that like, okay, you're taking your time and you're coming. Like we are not going to put this overbearing stress on like qualifications to enter, or you have to meet these cutoff times at a certain time, or like we're not going to allow you to go on. Like we just truly want to celebrate movement at its deepest, like smallest level, all the way to like the craziest feat that you could possibly imagine. With us, it's the double at our event, and like, yeah, I don't know, that whole definition of unreasonable hospitality, that we want people to leave feeling like they got something that they could never get anywhere else. And I think truly the inclusivity point of it really enhances everyone from the top to the bottom, because there's nothing cooler than seeing someone do something that they never thought they could do. And that's truly been like the main ethos behind the Mid-South, is like, believe in yourself, spend the time and money on yourself to train or to travel or to be here or whatever, and like push yourself beyond a limit that you maybe never thought you had. And whether that for a pro is the side of like being on the podium and winning, or yeah, exactly like the DFL at the very end, like never thought I could ride 100 miles.
You know,
Is that ethos something that you all have present at District Bicycles as well, just like year round?
Yeah, definitely. We would have never known how to do it at the event without it being present at the shop. You know, like I really pushed this from the beginning. Like, you don't need to know how your derailleur works. You don't need to know the vocabulary. Like, you don't need to say the right words. Like, we're not going to shame you for not looking and right. You know, you come to a group ride at District right now on a Monday or Wednesday night, 90% of the people are wearing Bedrock sandals with flats and, you know, jorts.
Yeah.
And Micro had this amazing idea to incorporate the denim ride on Thursday night at Mid-South that we've been doing now for what, 4 years, I think, 5 years next year.
I think this was 4 years this year.
There were 500 plus people in denim. There was some guy in a denim thong.
Like, truly
serious.
Unhinged. Some say unhinged.
He truly like changed. He like set the tone for me for the whole weekend. It was
So,
great.
Bobby, knowing that the hope is that this podcast will hopefully reach bike shops, owners, or, you know, employees, like, what advice would you have? Maybe if a shop can't take it to the full 100% level, like what do you think is the way for a bike shop to create this experience where people just like feel a part of something?
Just truly do your best to be genuine and be yourself. But like this whole culture of like that I keep hearing about, of like this chip on your shoulder, like grumpy bike mechanic thing, like, please throw that in the trash. Like, nobody wants to be met with a wall or like a front or like a grumpiness or like an expectation that like this customer is out to get me. If that is a part of your everyday life at your bike shop, like, I know it's not going to change overnight, but what you need to remember is that every single person that comes in is a full human. They're a whole person. And whether or not they understand how it works, or they're asking for a discount, or they're, you know, trying to figure out how to get the best price, or talking about stuff that's online for cheaper or whatever, like, still treat them like a whole human, because you never know who they know. You never know where their journey might take them. You never know where they're at within this realm of being a cyclist or being a customer at this local store. They're in your shop. Like, treat them great. Give them a place to sit down and chill and hang out. We have a couch. We have a whole bar area that doesn't serve alcohol. We just sit there and watch your bike get worked on. I know some places are busier than others. I know what it's like. I've been in retail now for 20 some years. I've heard all of it, just like all of you. But creating a culture of inclusivity and of welcomeness and of like truly like, what can I do for you? And it's never leave the conversation with like, nope, I can't do that. Just give people options. Show them another shop in town that might be better at that X, Y, or Z thing. You know, with us, like, we do work on used bikes. Sorry, we don't sell used bikes. We don't do like a buyback trade-in thing, except for kids' bikes that have been bought from us, and it's just basically because we don't have the room and we truly don't have the time. But the other shop in town does, and I'll always recommend, like, hey, like, we can't buy that from you. We don't do that, but the other shop does, and if not, put it on marketplace, and if you need us to ship it, you can charge the buyer and we'll box and ship it for you. And it is not just a, we don't do those used bikes, like,
Yeah.
please leave. Truly, like, find a way for there to be a yes in the conversation.
It's interesting because, I mean, it's really just about being a good person.
Yeah,
It's just treating people the way you want to be treated.
exactly.
Unreasonable. What was it? What was the
Yeah,
unreasonable
hospitality.
hospitality? And it's like, just strive for reasonable hospitality.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah,
I mean,
that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, it does. You don't have to be whatever you think that we have going on here, because I don't even know what it truly looks like from the outside, because I'm not from the outside. But yeah, just try and be reasonable. Just try and create the experience that you yourself would want, no matter where it is that you might be going. We get so, like, focused on where we are, how things are affecting us, like, in our own little four-wall situation, that sometimes we don't even get to be customers outside of our own businesses, because we're there so much during the same hours that everyone else is open. And the only other interactions you might have are at, a big box store or whatever. That is not how it needs to be. We need to remind ourselves, like, who we are and how we're building culture within our communities, literally from every single tiny little interaction that we may or may not have inside the four walls of our bike shop.
Bobby, I feel like we could talk to you forever.
I'm sorry, I am really long-winded in all my answers.
No, this is awesome.
Good.
I want to
Thank
hear, Micah mentioned at the beginning of the episode about how you all are not afraid of change. You've talked about that a little bit. I want to hear a little bit more about that, again, just as someone that doesn't have a ton of experience with the event, and maybe talk about where you see the future of Mid-South. It sounds like you're starting to think about it a little bit, but maybe even longer term.
We really, over the last few years, we've leaned into this idea of being, we're calling ourselves a weekend endurance festival. So we're not really looking at ourselves as just this bike race, because obviously now with 5K, half marathon, 50K, like, all these different things are happening. I've invested in live music in a way that I know for a fact no other race in the country has even come close to. And I truly want to just lean into fertilizing this idea of a festival. And by that, I don't mean that I want to start charging tickets to the public. Like with Sea Otter, every single person that's a part of the public for Sea Otter, they go down into Laguna Seca, which is sick. I highly recommend it. Everyone there has to buy a ticket. Like, I don't want that at all. I want to figure out how we can get key partners, sponsors, industry people, non-industry people, to invest in this idea of movement and the celebration of movement. That does not just mean riding a bike or running. It's all of these things. It's just being vibrant and alive in your community. And I want to elevate every single portion of this event. We looked into it a couple weeks ago. I want to get a Ferris wheel. I have no idea if we can make that happen, but it's $29,000 for 2 days to have a Ferris wheel. And I have this dream in my mind of, like, someone sitting on top of the Ferris wheel watching finishers come in on the left-hand side down the finish line corridor, and then the live main stage is over here to the right. And then, it's just like, I have a million ideas. I'm friends with Jamie Bestwick now because he's gotten into gravel, and Jamie's a 14-time X Games gold medal BMX champion. He's the most winning X Games champion on earth, has done the event twice. And I want to work with him on how do we get a vert ramp and have an area for kids to watch. They have that at Sea Otter. Like, why can't we do the same thing? I don't want to be like anyone else, but I do want to, like, offer different windows into different versions of cycling or even skateboards. And I want to give things for the community to do that don't have anything to do with the event as far as running or riding. And they can come and enjoy it beyond just standing at the finish line. So I don't want to turn into like a circus or like carnival. So hopefully that's not the vibe that anyone's getting. But I do want to, like, build the expo, have even more incredible live music. hopefully the start line is continuing to be as energetic and unbelievable as possible. Yeah, so we already have buy-in from the community. We have buy-in from tons of unbelievable sponsors. But to keep going and to grow it more, like we're gonna have to kind of double down in that world and see what we can truly get out of it. Because it is not my goal at all to become a part of a series. It's not my goal at all to like truly try and figure out how to grow like the pro side. The pros just keep coming, so I am trying my best to facilitate that in our own way, and I don't want that to die either, because I truly deeply care about the competitiveness and that whole world as well. But yeah, I think we have to think about all of it. We can't just think about one piece. And I feel like a lot of other events right now, a lot from like the communication standpoint or social media or like just all of it is truly on this pro thing right now, because more pros from Europe are coming and blah, blah, blah. And you put a number plate on a bike and you put a timing strip across the ground and the racing is going to happen. Like it's going to happen.
Yep.
We just happen to be right now, I think, in kind of the most relevant and growing side of that conversation on U.S. soil anyway. And we don't have it figured out. We don't have a sanctioning body that's taking care of everything. We're not USAC sanctioned. UCI is not involved. So the biggest, most prominent gravel races, we're still kind of in this weird spot, even though we're 15, 20 years in. And the pro side, I don't know. I think we're doing a great job. I don't think there's much that we need to do to change how we're doing it. And I think that a lot of other events should look at moving their pro race off of the main mass start day, because it does two things: safety, 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 safety. Like it gets all of the other slower riders out of the finish line chute. I don't want to split our finish line chute and have different distances finishing over here. And I don't like that at all. I like it all being in one very curated spot. And I think that it gives all of the amateurs something entertaining to watch the entire day before they go out and do the same exact course. So yeah, anyway, that's where I want to lean into all of that. I want to lean into basically it boils down to this. Our core values, our mission statement as a business for the shop and the race both are: does this decision or this change or everything that we're doing positively impact our customer, like our participant, whatever you want to call it, and our friends, our family? That's how we feel about everybody that comes. So if the answer is yes, and holistically it's a good for everyone, then we're going to move forward with that, even if it is some big scary change, like putting the pros on a different day or changing the name or moving our bike shop back in 2.5 years in when we moved to our location that we are now. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think nothing stays the same anyway. Like everything always changes. Like look at my hair is completely gray now. It wasn't like 7 years ago. So everything changes. Why should we be completely terrified of it? Because change is inevitably going to happen anyway. So you should just be in control of said change, or allow said organic change to be met with like open arms within your organization.
So Mid-South, you guys underwent one thing that, quite frankly, I can't think of happening to another event, and that was the fire in 2025.
Yeah.
And for those that don't know, there was terrible winds, fires got started, and the event, I'll argue, made the right decision to cancel. How good did it feel to do the event in 2026?
Oh man, it almost felt like we were a little bit out of practice, to be honest, dude, because we hadn't fully done it for 2 years, and because it felt like a huge pressure relief button. It felt like it felt like a huge exhale. It felt like a ton of work, obviously, but it also felt like we proved to ourselves that we truly do know how to do this. And even though we missed a whole entire year, we still got back, reg numbers and the community vibe. And we even moved the whole finish line to the new area at Block 34 where we have the amphitheater. So in all the ways it felt good, it also felt really, really uncertain because it had been so long. But man, afterward though, it felt like a huge success. It felt like we hit on all cylinders, and it was like, okay, cool. Our team, which is really small, by the way, our internal crew team is 6 people. It truly just felt like, all right, we've been doing this together now for 15 years. We weathered this awful tragedy with the lowest humidity we've ever seen, with 70 plus mile per hour winds, when the skies were blue. I mean, dude, it was so weird. It was just so traumatic in so many ways that, like, okay, we weathered COVID. We canceled in 21 because COVID numbers are still high. We bounced back from that. We weathered this name change. It's been a roller coaster, dude. So now I'm just waiting for like the fault line that inevitably lies at the bottom of downtown Stillwater. Because like, what else is there?
It's hard, but also I guess a blessing that sometimes those lessons of what you're capable of can only come on the other side of something really hard. And I think,
Yeah.
we experienced that in our personal lives, but it's really cool to hear how you all have bounced back, or how you sort of embrace that, not being naive to the challenges it'll pose, but can feel a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah. I mean, inevitably, crazy things are going to happen whenever you bring this many people together to do one singular thing in one area, especially on like, open public roads. I will say this too, like that's probably for the future, for the foreseeable future, the one thing that we cannot let our foot off the gas on is safety. And so like right now, that's our biggest conversation is how do we keep all these people safe? Not only the pros that are quite literally doing 28 miles an hour for the first 30 miles of this race. So again, like the pro side of things, we're just getting our hands wrapped around it for the first time as like a whole collective of race promoters across the country and the world. There's tons of question marks about the safety and the guidelines and how we do this. And I'm totally here for all those conversations, but equally so, 4,000 amateurs out on the open public roads on Saturday. I'm just as concerned about them as well. So right now we're having conversations about like, how do we continually grow this or sustain it at this level and keep everyone as safe as we possibly know how? And so the whole like rolling road closure conversation is happening right now, and how we can actively do that with potentially motorcycles if it's dry, because if it's wet, motos can't make it on a lot of the roads that we have. And it's just constantly, it's never a set target. It's always moving, and it's always exciting. And I love it. I can't believe this has become my life's work because I decided to take a left-hand turn. And also because I decided to take a skip from Trek bicycles and move to a town where I knew no one. And now 100% I'm like, I know I'm a Kansan like through and through, and Kansas will always have the deepest place in my heart, but I'm Oklahoman as a kid now.
That's awesome.
And Stillwater is 100% home.
You got a little bit of the red dirt running in your veins now.
Big time.
Yeah.
With music too, man.
Soon to be author. All right, Bobby, we like to wrap up these discussions with a bit of rapid fire. We've got a handful of questions for you. You ready? Just the first thing off the dome that comes to mind.
Okay.
Mid-South weekend staple food item.
Oh, the noodle truck. Why am I forgetting their name? They were at Unbound as well. It's Wakai noodles, veggie.
Awesome.
Yes.
So good. Favorite gravel road anywhere?
Probably 68th. It's just a few miles southwest of here. I try and use it on every single route I can possibly get it on, but it's called 68th Street, headed to the west from Range Road. It's just these big, huge rollers. It's perfect every time.
Dream ride destination?
Italy. I want to do the Italy divide sometime, real bad.
Favorite post-ride beverage?
Oh, Stone Cloud, the Chug Norris, it's called. It's a mosaic pale ale, and it's the best.
Besides the obvious fire, most memorable Mid-South weather story?
2017, 36 to 39 degrees and raining the entire time, 13% finish rate. 100 people went to the hospital for hypothermia symptoms. My buddy Bailey crossed the finish line on a surly cross check with rim brakes and couldn't speak. And we literally had to peel him off his bike and then drag him upstairs to an apartment that's above district. And our friends stripped him naked and turned the hot water on as much as they could. And I grabbed him by the face, literally, and was like, "Are you okay?" And he's just like, and I was like, "Do we need to call the ambulance?" And he's like, and I will never, ever forget how he looked in that moment.
Wow.
It was crazy.
All right. One word that describes Mid-South.
Stellar.
Sounds like it.
It's a good word.
All right, Bobby, we like to start our episodes with talking about one thing that's got us stoked in the bike industry. It's clear to me there's no lack of stoke in you. What's got you stoked this week?
This week I've been stoked on Tour Divide, man. We got a new FKT for the Tour Divide, Victor Bossoni on the Factor team. I don't know how old this kid is, but he looks young. He carried some stuff. It sounds like he slept pretty well. And he did 11 days and 8 hours. And again, like, I'm not like this big, huge racing fan, but what are we talking about? Tour. If you're not watching Dots on the Tour Divide, you should be. And Salsa's got a rider out there, and she's on track to beat the women's record, right?
Yeah, Megan Hakkinen is. She's in the hunt. She's got a shot at it. I've been refreshing frequently. Yeah.
Is she still in front of the Mike Hall dot from 2016? Because I think she was at some point.
She has been, and then I can't remember if she was today.
Which is
she's ahead of her. She's ahead of her previous pace. So by like 100 and some miles.
Yes. So she's on track to be sub 15 days for 2,745 miles.
Yeah.
I got to do the Tour Divide. I did it on a Gen 1 cutthroat, which was so sick, back in 2016, 24 days and 1 hour. So like I'm deeply tied to that route, just like anyone is that's ever done it. And so every year when the dots pop up, I get really, really stoked.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost, they always used to call it the longest mountain bike race in America, but really it's the longest gravel race in America. And
I'd say 2,000 miles of it are gravel probably. And it's nuts. It's beautiful.
It almost feels like it just has a nice connection to the gravel scene.
Yeah. No questions about that.
Yeah. Oh, Bobby, thank you, brother.
Thank
it
you
was
guys
awesome
both.
having you here on Quality Bicycle People. Hopefully our guests enjoyed it. We've got more exciting guests coming up, and we sure hope that you will join Maria and I and listen in. So thanks to all for listening and or watching.
Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the ride.